The dance of death. Being able to raise the dead is a deep fascination for most people. For them, that is the ultimate test of someone's spiritual powers. Most people are living like the dead anyway because they are unconscious of many things within themselves. If people are living unconsciously, it is as good as death. So, in many ways, the whole spiritual process is about raising the dead. In that sense, raising the dead is my work. But that is not what people are asking about. They are very interested in knowing if I can make a corpse come alive again. This is a very immature desire that stems from some historically famous incidents. One of my first trip to the United States, I happened to address a gathering where a staunchly religious man stood up and asked, "Can you raise the dead?" I said, "Why would I do such a stupid thing? It is a stupid thing because the dead should remain dead, is it not? If all the dead came back, could we live here? Are we not glad that they are all dead?" You are probably thinking of one person, your husband, or your wife, or your father, or your mother, or someone like that. But I am talking about all the billions who have died on this planet till now, including the dinosaurs. Only because they are dead, it is possible for us to live here. And what kind of a fool would bring back the dead? Only someone who has no sense of life at all and absolutely no perception of life would interfere with the life process and bring back the dead. Transforming yourself is one thing, meddling and fixing life around you is another thing. Life has a certain process much deeper than you can understand. So don't cut it and meddle with it by doing silly things. It once happened, it was the dream of an elderly couple in Texas to visit Jerusalem, the Holy Land. So they made the trip and relished every step that they took there. They took the road that Jesus walked with the cross and visited the place where he walked upon water and all that. Unfortunately, in all this excitement, the wife had a heart attack and died. Now the local funeral director came and made an offer to the husband. "See, we can do all the rituals for your wife for just $6,000. But if you want to transport her back to Texas, it will cost you $24,000. And we don't know what the funeral charges in Texas are." The man thought about it and said, "No, I will take her back to Texas." They asked, "Why? This is the Holy Land. This is the best place to bury her, and it is cheaper too." He thought about it again and said, "No, I am taking her to the Texas." They asked, "Why? It does not make sense. Why do you want to do this?" The man replied, "In Texas, the dead stay dead." Historically, there have been many people who declared dead, but they came alive after some time. Sometimes they popped out by themselves from their coffins even during their funerals. So, this is also one of the reasons why people are looking for some miracle to bring their dead back to life. But these were not cases of miracles or someone meddling with life, but that of a misdiagnosis. Today, defining death is a big challenge because science has learned that death is not an event but a process that could stop progressing or can even reverse itself due to various reasons. In fact, medically, they even have a term for it. They call it the Lazarus phenomenon. When someone who was declared dead comes back to life after some time with no explanation. In India, there have been many instances where someone died and they took the body to a yogi or someone like that, and then the dead person was revived. But these two are not revivals in the true sense. It is more like going to a doctor of a different kind. Mostly, these were deaths that were caused by snake bites. When one is bitten by snakes, the prana takes a much longer time to leave the body. In the meantime, if the effect of the venom wears out or if there is an external infusion of prana, then it is possible for the person to be revived. Doctors who work with snake bite deaths may have seen this. With certain kinds of snake bites, especially that of the cobra or naga family, when everything has been done and the victims has still not been revived, sometimes if you put them on a ventilator, after a while they make a recovery, just like that. I experienced something like this in my own life. I have been bitten by cobras at least 5 or 6 times in my life. Once it almost killed me. I had picked up this cobra, but I did not notice that there were 2 of them entwined together. It was not the mating season, but for some reason they were together, and when I picked one up, the other one fell on my foot and bit me 4 times. Its venom started to get me. It must have hit the bone the first few times, so it kept going until it hit the flesh and let the venom out. Once the venom enters your body, you experience a different kind of pain. It is not just the biting or the poking kind of pain, it is like an injection. When they pierce a needle, there is one kind of pain. When they inject the medicine, there is another kind of pain. So I put the cobra away and started to attend to the bite. I knew whatever happens, I should not fall asleep. This happened in a remote area where there were no people nearby. I had my bicycle with me, so I just took my cycle and went to the nearest house I could find. There was a lady there. I told her that a cobra had bitten me, so I needed lots of tea. She became hyper but was sensible enough to make me a pot of black tea. I drank it and managed to stay alert without falling asleep or losing consciousness. Later, I made it back home. Initially, I thought I would tell my father because he was a doctor and he would take me to the hospital and do something. But then something in me said, "What the hell? Let me see what will happen." I was feeling okay, but my eyelids were feeling a bit heavy. Moreover, I did not want to freak my parents out or bring undue attention to my activities. So I just sat down and practiced a little bit of yoga. I was not doing the yoga to avoid the poison, but I was feeling drowsy, so I did some yoga. After that, I had an early dinner and went to bed in the morning. I was a bit groggy, my eyelids swollen and heavy, but I had survived. This may have happened because the cobra probably did not deliver a full dose of its venom, or maybe just staying awake and hanging on helped tide over its effect. There was no manipulation of life involved there, but generally, when a cobra bites, there is a greater possibility for revival because the prana withdraws more slowly from the body than usual. However, until the point where Udana Vayu has withdrawn completely from the body, revival is a possibility, at least in principle. There are some tantric processes to do this, but after Udana Vayu has left the body, there is absolutely no chance to revive someone. Reviving the dead is not so big in the East, but the tantric system in India was always big on making a corpse walk. Once the dead has been shed, once the legs have fallen, you cannot walk. A dead man cannot walk, isn't it? But that is not true. They can be made to walk. This is because, as we already saw, death happens slowly. The withdrawal of life process happens step by step. When the lung, heart, and brain activity stops, they declare you dead. But the life process is still continuing, and you can rekindle that. It is by using this that tantrics make dead bodies walk. Sometimes this is also done on corpses that are burning on the pyre. I have not seen this personally, but I know people who will not lie about such things, who have seen corpses that were burning on the pyre be made to get up and walk. This happens because at that moment, when the burning begins from the outside, the life process retreats and it creates a concentrated space where life is happening more intensely at that moment. Some people are able to make use of that and rekindle the system in such a way that suddenly the corpse gets up and walks a few steps. For some time, it behaves as if it is alive and then falls dead when the life exhausts itself. This is possible because when the corpse is brought from cremation, there is still some life energy in it. It is not good enough to beat the heart, make the circulation happen, make the brains work, and all that. But in the cellular level, there is an energy, lots of energy. When the fire touches it, it inflames that in a certain way. Now, by investing a certain amount of energy into the corpse, you will be able to get it to perform some action for some occult purposes, like how your phone battery is dead, but still you can make an SOS call. All the tantric and aghori practices have relevance only because of this phenomenon. Otherwise, what is the point of sitting on a dead body and doing all those things? If dead means completely dead, what is there to do with bones and flesh? They are not sitting on the body to revive it. They have no interest in reviving the body. They want to use this little spurt or energy to transport themselves into something. They are trying to extract that little life and use it. That is the basis of animal sacrifices. When sacrifices are not possible, they try to use a freshly dead body. This is not as if the dead person is being brought back to life, nor is it of much spiritual significance. Now, in the West, some people have started a project where if you pay a huge sum of money, your body is cryogenically frozen and kept intact after your death. The hope is that in the future, when there is a technological breakthrough to restore your body, you can come back to life. This is absolute stupidity and immaturity. Normally, after an injury or something like that, when a person goes into a deep state of unconsciousness, the body tries to escape the pain and suffering because it may not be strong enough to bear both the shock and the pain of it. It is a kind of defense mechanism that switches off everything. Such a person may recover once the body is strong enough to sustain life. But in cases where life has completely left the body or the bodies are being artificially kept alive for many years in a coma, there is no person in the body. You are just keeping a heart and two kidneys and a few more organs alive. That is not really life as such. This is like when someone gives their kidney, that kidney is kept alive for a few hours somewhere else, not in anybody's body, but outside. It is kept alive artificially. A coma state is very similar. Whether you keep a kidney or two kidneys plus heart, plus this and that, it is about the same. there is no person anymore. Technology is there to keep the body alive, and in the future you may be able to revive it too. But your particular life coming and choosing the same body is far away. In other words, this someone taking up the same body after 25 years is just rubbish. If such a thing ever happens, it cannot be the same person. By accident, it could have happened that some other consciousness or disembodied being got into it. That is all. But it is such a great business idea. The Pharaoh of Egypt spent the money needed for mummification then. But even now, it is a good business because you pay in advance, not on revival. Unfortunately, there is no benefit for the mummified one. I doubt such a thing will ever happen, but something like this can happen in different way. You may have heard of yogis leaving their bodies, going somewhere and returning to take it on. Sometimes it so happens that before he comes back, another yogi takes on the body and goes away. It is like you park your motorcycle and go somewhere. Meanwhile, someone else picks it up and leaves. Such things may happen, but the chances are very remote.